All right, welcome everyone. I thought there was going to be a first ever before Doctors Chris and Drew showed up that there would actually be three Joshes hosting this call. We got Dr. Joshua Pickell in Brooklyn, New York. We got Dr. Josh Kaeger in Fargo, North Dakota. I'm in New York, about an hour north of New York City. It was going to be epic. And then Chris and Drew showed up. No, I'm kidding. But because of that, Chris and Drew, I'm going to start with you. So the nature of this call was quick interviews with three different docs, new to using patient mastery strategies and seeing really nice rapid growth in different areas, using different strategies and really sharing what those are to make a difference. To make a difference for docs who oftentimes it's very easy to get stuck at any point during the career, whether you're just starting, whether you're 10 years in, 25 years in, whether you're stuck at 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, 40,000 a month, a million. It's just the nature of the game. It happens to me. And the point is, when you notice that, it's usually time to do something new. I love the quote, what got you to where you are isn't what's going to get you to where you want to be. So what served you growing served you, and sometimes it then sabotages you from getting to the next level. And let's start with, so Chris and Drew, married couple, chiropractors in practice together. Can you share, because you're really new to patient mastery, like what was your experience of chiro, the profession, practice, more recently before patient mastery? Like what did it feel like, and what were you butting your head against the wall, and like what aspects of practice?
I think I kind of felt like, the redheaded stepchild of the medical profession. I felt like we'd been trained that if we couldn't fix it in 4 visits, well, send it to PT because they can probably do it.
Hmm.
And that was kind of the background we came from. And yeah, that would be my big thing.
And Drew, was that more like what school taught you, or what you felt the general public expected coming,
It's
or both?
absolutely what school taught me. It is not what the general public believes.
Okay.
I mean, when we start asking people, well, how long do you think this will take to get better? And someone tells you 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, and I think because we both had that belief that, if we weren't getting people 100% better in 2, 4, 6 visits, then we would take that really, really hard personally. And we would just get so down on ourselves and be like, well, we got to work harder with people. We got to do more modalities and do more things. And it was just really grinding us down and making us not really appreciate chiropractic for what it is. It was taking the magic out of it.
I remember that first call with you a month and a half or so ago, and feeling that energy of like, this doesn't feel right. Like if this doesn't change, we like practically we don't even want to stay chiropractors, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're listening and you can relate, throw it in the chat. I know what you mean by feeling like redhead stepchild of medicine. That's how I felt growing up from my mom. When I told her I was planning on becoming a chiropractor, and that was not until undergrad. I was 20, I think, when I realized this is what I want to do. But feeling that from her, clearly feeling it from other professions or medical profession. And we are on our own island. We are mavericks. We are renegades. And it doesn't mean you have to bash the other systems. It doesn't mean any of that. But yeah, like we're unique. And then the whole patients expecting, 2, 4, 6 visits, everything to be perfect. It is magical when you actually ask that question. In a consult question 5, hey, what are you expecting in terms of relief and like symptoms changing? And then what are you expecting for resolution? And you get them to open up their minds of, whoa, those are 2 different things. And hey, this is going to be a process. And then when they overshoot what your initial recommendations were going to be anyway, boy, doesn't that make the recommendations combo easier?
right.
Absolutely.
Drew first, then Chris. What's been the things you've used, and what's been the changes so far just in the first 6 weeks, let's say, of patient mastery? Like what strategies or headspaces, and what have you noticed shift?
I mean, for me, you asked us to use the deserving process meditation every day for 30 days. And honestly, for me, that has made the biggest difference in my life of maybe anything I've ever done.
Don't leave us on such a cliffhanger. Just
So,
go deeper. You know, yeah, obviously you don't have to get into like personal stuff if it's, super personal, but like go a little deeper, especially if you feel chiropractors can relate.
yeah, I feel like as chiropractors, we can have hangups, me personally, at least, about not being good enough, not being deserving of the pay that I should be getting because I'm doing good work. Of even thinking the good results I'm getting are maybe not me, it's just that patient responding to whatever. And what I've discovered is, man, what we do is magical. It really can be. And it's really powerful. And it is okay to be paid for your work. It is okay to feel proud of your work. And we have doubled our collections in 1 month, which is mind blowing. And not by charging people more money or doing treatment plans, just simply by showing up every day ready to work and becoming excited about it. So that's what's changed for me. I've gotten really excited about what I do.
And everything's a mirror. So like you're excited about it, the patients are going to be excited about it. You're confident about it, patients are going to be confident about it. You're certain about what you're recommending, they're going to be certain about what you're recommending. Or the flip side, which we fall into, we go into a recommendations conversation uncertain or hesitant or not believing in our fees. The patients are going to feel uncertain, hesitant, not believing in the recommendations of the fees. And that's where I've got to think about it. It's come up way too often. So yeah, great input, Drew. Chris, how about for you?
Mine's a very similar path to Drew's. I think the deserving process has been really key for me. And I've had to really do this deep dive into my past of even before I went to chiropractic school. I realized that I was told by medical doctors, like, why are you going to chiropractic school? You should just go to medical school and become a real doctor. So I went into chiropractic school with that doubt in my head. And then I also, through being a chiropractor, was told by other chiropractors that I wasn't a real chiropractor because I was doing things differently from them. So I really had to, like I said, do a deep dive and figure out my place and what I believed, where I fall in all of this spectrum. And that just gave me so much confidence coming into practice then. And I think the neatest thing is that when I'm with patients now, things will pop out of my mouth where I'll be like, wow, that was actually really intelligent. Where did that come from? I know it was always deep down, but I think I was always afraid to just have these ideas and actually express them and think like, oh, am I steering patients wrong? But I wasn't. So that's been really great. And I think that patients that we've had for a long time have felt that and they've noticed that being different.
Nice. You mentioned before, like even from chiropractors, you'd feel like the redheaded stepchild because you did things differently. What did you do differently? Like, is it more nutrition focused, or am I missing something?
I remember, so we've been in practice for 14 or 15 years. And I remember about a year into practice, I called a chiropractor that was from, that had treated a patient of mine previously. And I just wanted to see what he had done with her. And I said the word treatment instead of adjustment. And he went on a 10-minute tirade, ripping me apart. And he was the kind that, you don't adjust people with your shoes on because you're not grounded. He was really, really straight. So that's, I think just, we went to Western states. And so just having that more, evidence-based, model, he did not like.
Understand. Okay. Yeah, so both of you, the diving into the deserving process and clearing out sabotaging undeserving beliefs, like your tone, your energy, your confidence, the certainty. Chris, what you said, like you're just saying stuff now that was inside, but now is able to come out. I thought you were going to say, I was just saying stuff that like I heard a tribe coach say on this call or this call. I guess it wasn't, but that's awesome. All right, let's pause there with you two and jump over to Dr. Joshua Pickell in New York. Josh, what was practice feeling like for you? Feeling like, and like, what was the stuck points? Was it can't attract new patients, can't get them to start, can't get them to pay, can't get results, whatever, every car is unique and there's similarities. And then what pieces have made the biggest difference?
So my experience might be a bit different than other people. So I'm still relatively new into practice and just trying to establish myself. So I recently moved to Brooklyn about a year and a half ago, and not long after moving to the city, I got a job as an employee somewhere. So I'm still employed there a few days a week, but pretty quickly I realized I really wanted to just open my own practice and do things my way. Working with other employers has been a point of frustration for me because I have my ways I want to do things, and I believe I get the best result that way. But then feeling limited in different environments where can't set it up and have my own vision come true. And so, after about, 14, 15 months of having my own practice, I barely broke even on it for like over a year. And it was really frustrating. And I was like really losing. I've always had a lot of faith in myself, but it was definitely getting very tested whether I could actually make it on my own or not. And I wanted nothing more than to just be full-time in my own practice. But like I have a family to take care of and like, bills to pay and stuff. So we kind of needed the other, kind of relying on the income from my day job, like at the other place. So I was experiencing a lot of frustration and starting to lose faith, starting to lose hope. And it all started to turn around very quickly when I got started to join the coaching program. The deserving process, again, started to make a really massive difference for me almost immediately. Something that I always felt very confident with actually was clinical results and doing really good, detailed, and thorough work with the people I work on. And so that part, I work really hard on it every day still, so I'm not complacent with it. But that one I felt pretty solid. Like, I have my plans and I have like my methods for improving my skills clinically. But communication and systems were big points for me that I felt were very, very weak. Sometimes I think somehow in school, I found myself finding it even harder to relate to regular people and like be able to talk to normal people in a non-chiropractic way. And so I think a lot of these new patient interactions, I was just hoping that they would like somehow understand me long enough that they could start to experience the benefit of the work I'm doing, and then they get it. And so every time I was just kind of hoping and praying that like, hey, my work is going to be good enough, they're just going to get it and want to stay under care. And yeah.
Gosh, before you go on, you also said something that most chiropractors need to hear, where you said you were hoping that they were understanding you. And that's one of the flaws of the whole chiropractic profession, is thinking new patients need to understand chiropractic, let alone accept it or agree with it. No different than when you go to an orthopedist or a cardiologist or a car mechanic. You don't need to understand how they do what they're going to do. You just need to trust them. Let's go forward. And so many chiropractors, we dig ourselves in a hole by trying to get patients to understand, and then it comes off as convincing or selling. But I thought we're supposed to educate. There's a fine line, and there's a certain amount, and a when and a what. But I'm glad you said that, because a lot of docs need to hear. They're banging their heads against the wall, thinking, I'm telling them what's going on inside and why this works and the big idea. And it's like, you're losing them.
Yeah, exactly. And you, in the program, you have so many different like modules and like videos where you're covering different mindsets, and like different notions that we tend to have as a profession, and how we're like using these ideas to sabotage ourselves. Like in another video you mentioned, like, if only they knew what we knew, then they would do what we do. And that's totally not true. And so I think in essence, like, I really just wasn't meeting people where they were. I was just trying to be where I am and hoping they're going to rise up. But it's really hoping and expecting too much for the average person. And so in a way, it was like a big sabotage that I was doing to myself, because I didn't know how to actually communicate with regular people anymore. And not only that, but I didn't have a solid system of any kind to really take pressure off of those interactions. And so, I got a lot of really good advice on how to sharpen my communication skills, and I can actually talk to regular patients now, and they're like excited and happy to pay for like my payment, my protocols like on the first day. And it's incredible. Like they're like have their card out. They're like, oh yeah, can we just like get this over with and get to the care? Like they're like ready. It's awesome. It's like totally changed everything.
And by the way, super happy for you. I know what that's like being early on in practice and like nice chunks coming in. That's like, oh, that takes care of rent. That takes care of that or more. Um, what are you feeling like? What are you getting paid now that you're feeling good and confident? Like, yeah, this is absolutely worth it. That a year ago, like, just was not happening, or like you couldn't imagine.
Well, like I'm actually making money now in my private practice, like not just like a couple $100 here and there, but like thousands of dollars. Like
Yeah.
it's a life, it's, I mean, yeah, it's gonna get a lot bigger, but it's life changing for me now. Like I can take more vacations or more trips. Like I don't have to worry about like living my life month to month. And this is only 3 months in, and after 2 weeks, I had my best month ever by far. And then the month after that was really good. And this month is already as good as July was. And we're only halfway through August. And so it's shaping up to look really good now. So like I made thousands of dollars where before I was, barely making my overhead.
Yeah. And what do you have a timeline now of, it sounds like you still work some hours or days at the other, do you have a goal or timeline of full in your own?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be in less than a year, maybe a few months even. And I have a couple ideas of how I'm gonna phase myself out of there. But I mean, if things continue to go how they go, is only a matter of months that I'm out of there.
And I'll tell you, Josh, there is going to be a certain point, you've probably already hit it, where the amount of time you're spending there is drastically limiting you from further growth in your own. It's the I'm going to do two things at once mentality, which a lot of chiropractors have, which it might be practice and I'm going to do a little real estate. It might be practice, but I'm going to day trade crypto. It
Mhm.
might be practice, but I'm going to try to learn telemedicine. And it's like, no, you do one thing and you will make three times as much as if you try to do two things at once. I've seen it for years with
Mhm.
every different thing, besides from the chiropractors who have reached success in practice, have systems in place where they don't have to be there full time. Then you can start venturing into other things. When you start doing that before, both things get 75% of energy. And rather than thinking, oh, well, that's 150% total, it's better than my 100% in just the practice. No, it's 75 is a C minus grade and 75 here is a C minus grade. So now you have two C minus businesses. So I'm not just saying that to you, Josh, I'm saying that to everyone, but the sooner you let go of that, and I know it may feel like, oh, there's some safety there, but you've already proven what you're doing is working. Give it
Mhm.
your all. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah, my volume's like quadrupled, so I'm actually getting kind of close.
Yeah. You got this. Awesome. All right. May come back to you. Let's move over to Dr. Josh in Fargo, North Dakota, so totally different part of the country.
Right.
Josh, can you share your experience? What was the banging the head against the wall feeling before installing these strategies, and what's most been most valuable to install in the practice?
Right. Yeah. I think for me, the banging my head against the wall issue for me was, I've been in practice for 14 years, kind of a combination of both Dr. Josh and Dr. Chris and Dr. Drew, but starting my own practice, I felt like I was just so overwhelmed with starting my own practice almost 2 years ago. And the systems that I have been able to take, well, one, just day one, day two, just to get that significantly honed in, has helped my ability to talk to patients, the ability to bring them to a place of wanting care, deserving care, and starting and getting the results they're looking for, and having the systems in place to not only just bring them in the door, but also to keep them in, and referring has been significantly helpful to me in practice. And, I'm 7 months in now. This is starting my 8th month of patient mastery. And in the last month, I just had my biggest month of collections. So that's been, one of the biggest things.
Hey Josh, when you talk about referrals, is it a natural result of what you're doing inside, or is there certain things you're doing to like generate and spur more referrals?
I think part of it is just being present, being more open. Like people are just my patients are they're just having such a great experience from day one and day two. And even in their after their first few visits, it's they're starting to talk about who they can refer. And that's been just it's made it so much easier as opposed to me trying to ask and keep asking for it. I don't feel like I'm trying to pull from them. They're willing to just give because of the experience they're having, the results they're getting. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And that's what I was getting at is it's like a
Yeah.
natural result of delivering a great experience rather than thinking you have to ask, which I know for me always felt kind of needy and awkward.
Yeah.
Uh, and I personally don't think someone's going to refer ever really based on getting asked. They're going to refer if they're referred or not, but not because the business owner asked them to refer.
Right.
Now, there's certain
Right.
things you can do to make it easier when they want to refer or their referral acts on it, like a certain gift card, gift certificate with a timed deadline, and they're still paying for something, but they're getting some savings. There's things that grease the wheels, but that's once they've already decided to refer.
Right. Yeah. And it just makes it so much easier.
Could you dive into the day one, day two, which, by the way, you can combine them? So, day one, most docs think consult exam, day two, recommendations, going over fees, starting with care. You can do it that way in PM, like Dr. Josh Pickell mentioned, hey, he's doing it all in day one. You could do it either way. Doing it all in day one saves a bunch of time, but you've got to have a lot more your system dialed in. So there's no one right or wrong way to do it. It's whatever feels right to you. You just combine the steps on one day or over two. But Josh, yeah, can you tell us like what stands out to you that just works so well and what you appreciate about the day one, day two?
Yeah, I think just the simplicity of of the 6 question consult has been really easy for me. Going to helping understand what we talk about, the 3 essentials with the patient has been just really, really helpful to help one understand the patient, let them know they've been heard, and to know really what it is that's getting to them and why they're coming in. And that's been really, really helpful as opposed to just trying to create like an issue for them. Like in my own head, they're purging that to me. So that's been really helpful with day one.
So do you mean so 3 essentials for those of you who don't know, that is someone explains what's going on with them. And essential number one is a summary of what they said. Essential number two is how they're feeling emotionally, if you can tell or if they say it. Essential number three is what's the real underlying result they want. So if someone's got headaches, the superficial result is I want my headaches gone. I want to be pain free. The underlying result is I want to be a better father or a better mother or not risk getting fired from my job because I'm having to call out a sick one day a week, or not miss social time after work because I got to be in a dark room with a pillow over my head. Like that's the third essential. Um, and Josh, what you said right there is like when you actually show them that you know these things, you don't have to do what most other chiropractors are taught, which oftentimes makes them feel uncomfortable. How I hear it described is building a mountain out of a molehill, where it's like turning the knife. It's like, you know, oh yeah, my neck, I'm feeling the pain 3 days a week on average, and then it's like 150 times a year. That's not normal. It's like that's like unnecessarily building a mold, and you don't have to. You don't have to. And people feel when it's like you're exaggerating what they're saying. You just got to show you know what you like. You hear them. You know how they feel. You know what they want, and you want what they want to. Keep going, Josh. I butted in.
Yeah. Yeah. So that, and then, as we build up to kind of the transition of getting to, we've always talked in chiropractic, I've always been taught like you really have to hit subluxation. What that is, get them to know that they could care less. They just want to know that I can help them. And that's been the best part about day one is that I spend literally 10 seconds on talking about what I'm looking for on that part, and I get right to the point of how, what I'm assessing, how that's going to help them, what it's actually going to get in the end result. And it's just so much easier, such an easier conversation, shorter. Like I'm able to drop it down into 10 minutes. And before I was like 20 minutes with people on the consult. I just couldn't get past so much of this other stuff because they just had too many questions.
And then move on to day two, the recommendations. For me, a big mindset shift is, so chiropractors think people are paying for chiropractic care, the care plan, let's say subluxation removal, straight spine, no nerve interference, all that, which most people, they have no idea what's going on. Chiropractors don't even pay for that. They expect to get free adjustments from colleagues. So it's like, no one wants to pay for that in the world. So if that's what you're trying to sell or get paid for, it's an uphill battle. But when you are showing them that there's a certain price for a period of time to work with you to get their third essential, being a better father, being a better mother, feeling, getting their life back, essentially, that's an easy sell. And you don't have to build a mountain into a molehill or molehill into a mountain.
Right.
You don't have to get them to understand curves and subluxation. And so what is it from your perspective, Josh, that makes it easier?
Yeah, it's like, again, I'm not trying to give them my whole 4 years of chiropractic in 20 minutes. It's, here's what I found. This is what's going on. This is normal. This is you. This is what it's going to take to get you to where you want to be. This is to get your goal. And this is good the cost. It's a quick 5 to 7 minutes, and we're scheduling and adjusting and done in 15 to 20. It's taken that, it's progressed my time to be able to see more people, and it's just helped ease that process for them as well too, and feel comfortable.
Curious, are you doing a care agreements list? Because some docs skip that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
there are care agreements, which shows unneediness. If they can't do these simple things, not even going to start.
Right. Yeah. It's just like if they're not involved in that part or invested into that part, it's not just the financial part. It's what they're going to do in the office, but outside the office, like half their progress or the results they're going to get is just as much outside, and what they're willing to not do.
Yeah. And when that's step 4 of the patient mastery recommendations, before you get into, we don't say, I don't like using the word cost. We say, here's savings options. But that unneeding, the care agreements list makes it where patients know they need you more than you need them. And you're showing simple things that you believe in that will help facilitate their speed of recovery and quality of healing and health. And if they can't do these simple things, which have nothing to do with paying you, it's not the right time to start. And that's a big shift for patients, unlike I would say the old paradigm of chiropractic is, aggressive, salesy, like, we'll take 50% off if you pay in full today, and it's like that worked in the 80s and 90s. And now, like, people have felt it from every industry under the sun, and it kind of feels off. And they don't want that from a healthcare provider and someone who's leading them.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I've done that in the, my first probably 8 years of practice, I was doing that. And that didn't sit right with me, because that's not how I wanted to be approached if I was in a chiropractic office. I certainly wasn't going to go for it. And that's not how I wanted to be in. It was just so conflicting with my beliefs. And it was really tough for me in the first 8 years.
Yeah. So awesome. Thanks for sharing. By the way, if you're on and you have any questions for any of these docs, you could write question into the chat, and I'll let you ask it verbally. You can just write the question into the chat, and I'll ask it. Let's do a quick round once more, going back to Drew and Chris. You guys talked about headspace, especially deserving beliefs, starting to build that muscle, clear out undeserving beliefs. Outside of that, what's one other area that you've learned in the past 4 to 6 weeks, practice strategy wise, that it's like, this is working well, like this is making a difference?
You can go ahead.
For me, I realized that I was wasting a lot of time with patients chit-chatting and I was not being efficient. And that has really helped me be able to schedule people, get them in, get them out, and take chart notes in a very efficient amount of time. Because I was just feeling so behind before that it was drowning me. So just even that, you've gone through like little tips and tricks of how to talk to people and how to move people through the office that have been great.
Curious, was that like the table talk video or the 13 keys?
No, those are 13. Yeah.
Okay. Curious, any, like, you can share some more detail, like certain ones that really resonate with you, or like what are some of those, or did we just like give you a kick in the butt, like speed it up? Don't share.
I tend to do a lot of muscle work with my adjusting. Just because, like I was saying, I felt like, oh, I just got to give everything to every patient. And so I've really cut down the amount of muscle work that I do significantly. And I think just the setup of my office, like my activator was across the table from where I stand. So I would have to walk around the table to get the activator and then walk back to where I was. So just making sure I have all of my my room set up as neatly as possible. And then I also like the tip about having the door open while you adjust. And I just crack it. I don't have it all the way open. But that really does make a difference with people not being super chatty.
Yes. Just it could just be a crack. Just the fact that it's not a closed door changes the energy in the room.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is a lesson for everyone. To end my day, my last call of day was with a female doc in Australia who I believe has only been in practice about a year or to year and a half on her own from scratch, and started using patient mastery to start her practice. She did 38 grand all cash last month, July, her best month ever, and just constantly been growing. And she's like, hey, I feel like I'm at capacity. What's next? So I started asking diagnosing questions, coming from efficiency aspects. And it turns out she's pretty much got 2 adjusting tables. One is in a closed door room, and the other is in an open setting where there's like a therapy thing next to it. And she said there's a lot of room. And she said it's only like 10 steps from one to the other, but essentially one has to, open the door, close it, go to the, and I'm like, wait, so patients, some of them have kind of an open adjusting experience, some of them have a closed door. And she goes, yeah, it's just whichever room is free, they go to. I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do, Sarah. Since you said you have room in the open area, you're going to put another table. You can do this super simple. Put a bookshelf as a divider so people aren't like seeing someone 3 feet away. You could even do 2, so it's a T-bar. You don't have to go spend $5 grand on like a Cairo T-bar. Just to put 2 $200 bookshelves from IKEA. And that's where you're going to adjust people now. The 1 in 30 people that say, oh, I really, really need the door closed, or 1 in 100, you still have a room for them with the door. And you take those 1 in 100 people in the door, and just having everyone in the same room, can't see each other, they can hear each other, and you're just going from table to table, that's going to be your next capacity buster. So there's a combination of 2 different settings, walk down a hallway, closed door. That's where she is now. In a couple months, she's going to see another 20% increase from doing nothing else but that. And I'm not like, oh, it's got to be all open adjusting, but if you are going to have private rooms, definitely keep the door open a crack, at least. Yeah. Thank you for that input, Chris. Chris, there's a question from Dan. Did she notice the most chatty patients start to chat far less?
Most of them. Yes.
Yeah, I guess that means like not closing the door completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do have one patient in particular who she'll notice if the door is open and she'll actually close it herself.
That's the 1 in 100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the 1 in 100. And that's really the one I was concerned about. I knew that she was going to do that, but everybody else, nobody else cares.
So the next thing you do is put the little like door wedge in thing, so she doesn't even know why it won't close, and then she'll just get flustered and then just run away. Yeah.
Just run away.
Yeah. um, cool. Drew, what's a non-deserving belief shift that's made a difference for you?
I'll make mine pretty simple. There's a video on how you should dress. And I used to wear kind of like
putting a shirt on.
What's that?
You started putting a shirt on in practice.
I started wearing a shirt. Yes. I would dress like I was going to the beach. You know, I'd have like a funky patterned shirt, and I thought I was quirky and cool. But now I wear a button-up dress shirt, and I put like my fancy watch on, and people just call me doctor, and they treat me with respect. It's really quite interesting how it's such a
no lab coat, no tie, but just some simple tweaks makes a difference.
Yep.
Awesome. And I bet you feel another level of professional, like you feel another level of valuable, and you're seeing it in the reaction.
You're correct.
Awesome. And just to give the disclaimer, we don't say you've got to wear this. We just show you here's the spectrum, especially on males, because there's just more diversity of what males wear in practice. As the doctor, of like each step up, you're going to get another level of value, perception, and respect. And don't go past what you feel comfortable wearing. Don't wear a lab coat if that's not congruent with you. Yeah, really good. All right, continuing around the wheel, Josh Pickell, what's one other area you'd like to share that's been super valuable?
I think the whole new patient system, like the whole new patient process, has been beyond the deserving beliefs. That's been the biggest thing to make a difference. And of course, there's like a lot of components to that, but it just gave me like a much easier way to like get people in and process them, and to like really just show that leadership, which I think I may have been lacking before, despite the quality of my care. And I really pushed myself and challenged myself to do it all in one day. And that took me a couple of weeks to really like start to get all these pieces to start working together. And something else that I was doing that really helped was I started doing the smart scheduling system where I have like designated new patient slots. And if I didn't have a new patient in those slots, I would just practice and pretend that I had a patient there. And I would just like go through and rehearse. I'm like, I need to practice this consult anyway. I need to practice this leadership statement, this recommendations conversation. Like I need to practice all this stuff. So I would just pretend someone was there, or pick my most recent new patient and just go through it again, like several times until it just started getting easier and smoother for me.
Awesome. So first of all, I love the fact that when you wouldn't have a new patient, but a designated spot. So it's like, hey, you've got free time. You're not jumping to social media. You're not jumping to emails. You're like, hey, what's the most valuable use of my time? And you're still learning this stuff. So let me strengthen this. I have a question for you. I get the feeling you've increased your self-perception of your value, let's say chiropractic care, and that's translated into increasing either your fees or something like that. Has that happened for you?
People are definitely treating me different, and I feel a lot different internally. I was always confident in my quality of care. Like that's like the one constant I've held with me since school, because I've just worked really, really hard on it. But the way people perceive that and start to understand, and I think they can recognize the value differently now than they could before. But they also just struggling to think of examples, but people are just different when they're like talking to me now. Like they are treating me with more respect, treating me more like their advisor and leader. I'm getting some community referrals, and other people are saying really nice things about me. Like I just had a patient come in yesterday. She was like a referral from a local midwife, and that midwife said I'm unparalleled. Like that was pretty cool. And so yeah, just the perception has changed. And my fees themselves, like were always like, at least in my prior practice, I didn't really raise my fees. But I've always wanted to do like a protocol system where before I was doing mostly just single visits, which I already, even at the time, I knew that was like the worst way to do things. And I had a couple subscriptions and packages, but I really wanted to do like the pay in full for like a few months, and I've wanted to do that for years. So finally felt like I had the tools and the systems and the resources to know how to do that properly and make it happen. And that, has made a big difference because now I have people paying for several months of care, like in advance.
Awesome. And some docs get in their head about the pay in full. It's not a hard sell. It's not the only option. It's just one savings option. And people usually like to save. So if they trust you, if the recommendations make sense, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this anyway. If I do visit to visit, it's going to cost more. So why not save? And just being able to have a really easy conversation about that, where people feel inspired to invest, rather than my experience of learning the ROF standard chiro was like, we're twisting their arm. It's like, there's no need for that. And I remember like not wanting to wake up in the morning, go into those conversations. It felt like I was twisting a new patient's arm to get their life back. Shouldn't have to.
Yeah, and they're almost always telling me that they're like excited to start care and they're excited to see me on their subsequent visits. And like you can feel it, like the energy is different. Like they're really happy to be there. And I've had even like a long-term patient come in and like say something about like, wow, I could just tell you really love what you do. And I mean, she's been in my practice for like a year, and she just like sees me differently now too.
Awesome. Super happy for you. All right, let's finish this up with the next Dr. Josh. And by the way, if you have a question that you want to get some more info or details, just drop it in the chat, or just write question and you can say it verbally. But Josh, what's one other strategy that you've installed from Patient Mastery that's tangibly made a difference for you?
Really scheduling my week has been a big difference. Knowing what to do in my downtime. And got one of the things I really enjoy is the fact that there are so many other people willing to help that are part of PM. And so one doc had suggested like, hey, on these downtimes, if you want to create more work on the business, take these hours and blocks and start working on them. So when I'm down or when I'm not seeing a patient, roll through the videos, roll through scripts, roll through something that you're learning and you're working on the business. And that has been really helpful. So now trying to find, one of the struggles I had was, I'd come home and put the kids to bed, and by 9 o'clock at night, 9:30, I'm trying to put in 2 hours worth of working on the business, which is not good for a marriage and having 2 kids. So he suggested find these blocks within my schedule, and I'm able to work on the business. So that's been really helpful, taking a look at my week.
When you're saying he, was this a tribe coach you've connected with?
This is a tribe coach, yes.
Who are you working with?
I got to work with Dr. Tom Gargiula.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's like structuring in CEO time.
Yeah.
Work on your practice, because if we don't structure it in the world we live in, life's going to take your attention someplace. The second you look at your phone, second you look at your computer, there's no shortage of distractions in our world. So if you don't schedule it in, unlikely it's going to naturally happen. Yeah. And that is another huge efficiency sabotage. When we were talking about that with Chris, is when you have time between patients. I don't mean time where, okay, you can put 30 minutes towards working on something or learning something or working on your marketing. That's a block, that's CEO time. But even when you have 4 minutes or 6 minutes, in the old days, it would be, oh, the chiro goes up and bothers their CA, looks over the shoulder, what's going on, who's coming. And like, of course, the CA feels micromanaged. It's not doing anything productive. That was, hey, we got to pull you back. Nowadays, it's how quickly are you jumping into social media, YouTube, email, and then that's a rabbit hole. And here's the thing. The second you do that, you are literally telling life, my energy is full. My focus is full. I don't need that phone to ring. I don't need more visits on my schedule because Facebook has my attention. Instagram has my attention. YouTube has my attention. And when you have your phone and you put it in a drawer, you put it at the front desk, you Put it where it's not easily accessible. You don't have your emails up on your computer. You don't have social media up on your computer that you take notes at. And you choose to do something that's practice productive. Maybe it is notes. Maybe it is, hey, who do I need to write thank you card to, referral card to? Who's that person who I need to reach out to? Referral connection. When you put your focus on something, even if it's for 2 minutes or 6 minutes, that's practice oriented, life finds a way of rewarding you. And we forget that when we go sideways, distracting focus, life's going to give us more of what we're putting our attention to. There's going to be more stuff to scroll, and there's going to be less patience on the books because you're saying, I'm busy scrolling. That's where I'm going to put my time. I said I'm open from 9 to 1, but it's 11:15 and I'm scrolling. You can scroll at lunch. You can scroll before work. You shouldn't, but you could. You can scroll after work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to add too, the one thing, Josh, that you've created that the chart that breaks you into collections ranges, right? That has been really helpful as well too, knowing where I'm at with my collections, to know what certain things I can work on, whether it's team, mindset, and just honing in on those things. Like if I'm at this collections, what do I need to be working on to get to that next level? And so that's really been helpful as well too. I know it's been one thing you've kind of gifted to people.
Yeah, I'll pull it up right now. Josh, you were on the call earlier today. We were talking about it because we did a call today on health upgrade and improving what's your health routine. And of course, that's going to benefit you at any level of your practice or life, is obviously focusing on your health. But something we've specifically found when you're stuck, this is the collections level that most docs get stuck in between if you're under $1 million. These are team strategies, practice strategies, and mindset and life focus, 9 different areas at each level where most likely you're stuck because a few of these you're not putting into play. And what I found personally, and tribe coaches and patient mastery, that a big one when docs are stuck below 60,000 is it's time for a next level of fitness and health routine and upgrade to increase their energy to get to, let's say, the $750,000 to $1 million practice, which would be 60 to 84,000 a month. Now, again, this is just a map of what are the systems and procedures that you need to learn when you're stuck at each band in different categories of practice and life. Was there anything else on this chart you want to point out, Josh?
No, it's more for me, like as I look at it, like if I'm struggling with something, I can look at it and be like, oh, I'm off a little bit on this, let's just say controlling life distractions.
Yeah.
I might be off on that a little bit in 1 week or 1 day. So, or just where's my one thing I don't have is a part-time CA. That's my next step for me to get to the next level. So I know that those are things I need to hit, and those are my goals moving per quarter.
Awesome. And no matter where you are, if you're stuck at 50, anything below that you're not doing is going to help. It's not just, stay within your band. If if you've skipped over some stuff, that's going to cause a leaky bucket. You don't need to go above your level until you got there. Cool. Real quick, Josh Pickell and then Drew and Chris, I'm curious, what tribe coach are you working with?
Oh, I'm not in a tribe.
Okay, we'll figure that different course. All good. Drew and Chris, who have you gotten matched with?
Tom.
Oh, we're both with Tom. All right.
Yeah.
Isn't Tom awesome?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Tom Gardula, St. Louis, Missouri, probably 36 years in practice, having his best years ever, and just a wealth of wisdom and maturity and just quality. Awesome. Cairo. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Coming up to the end, we're going to finish in a minute. Anyone have any questions for these docs who are focused, putting in the work, seeing results, and just the only thing you'd ask for, taking each step at a time with good attitude, head forward, not getting caught in the weeds? Any questions? Anything you want to hear before we finish off with them? Or is there anything, any of these docs, like you meant to say, but you didn't get a chance to say it? Did I hear someone start to chime up? I thought I heard, I heard something. Anything you didn't get a chance to say yet, Josh, Drew, or Chris, that you like, I want to make sure I shared this. Okay. All right. First thing I said when we got on the call is what got you to where you are. All of you, everyone on the line is doing a lot of good things, and we're all doing certain things that are sabotaging, or we just don't realize if we did this, we'd get to the next level. But what got you to where you are, the good things, is not the same things that are going to get you to the next level, whether it's focus, strategy, communication, fees, structure, care structures, all of that. It's all about what's new that'll get me to the next level that feels congruent, because there's a lot of stuff you can learn out there that will make you more dollars, but that's not you. So whether that's a modality, whether that's communication, whether that's just gratuitously doubling your fees, if something doesn't feel right, you may make more money, but as a chiropractor, you're not going to like waking up in the morning and lying your head down. And that's something we pride ourselves in patient mastery is you'd be proud if your mother was a patient in a patient mastery doc's office. Whether it's a seminar or a material, you could have any news station see exactly what we teach, and you wouldn't feel ashamed, like, oh, I'm part of that, which is not the norm, unfortunately, in our profession. And it gives you a sense of power because you could be your full self, no matter what your philosophy, no matter your technique, no matter your modalities. Everything we teach can be catered to any philosophy, any modalities, straight chiropractor, plenty of upper cervical docs, for instance, any location, and it works when you work the process. So if you haven't reached out, we give any doc who's genuinely interested in growing an opportunity to talk to one of our coaches and find out what's going on in your practice, what's most likely missing, what's most likely not working. Well, here's what we recommend. Here's how we'd help. If you want our help, take it. If you don't, that's fine. Complimentary call. I'm dropping a link to get that in the chat. You should be able to just click on it and it opens up a scheduler. We did let docs know who are getting on, who aren't in patient mastery, a gift for attending this live, or I think listening to the recording this week, is if you really want to grow, you really want new strategies that work today and will never go out of style, never go out of, they're not how to bill insurance or what's working with Facebook ads this month, and you really want to grow and work with us, if you get on a call and you want to actually get the proven process and start, we will take $500 off for starting. I think we're in the middle of August, like this month, something like that. You can click that link, get a gifted strategy call with one of our coaches. And if you want to go forward, we take $500 off. That's it. Simple as that. Any last questions, freakouts, or shares before we finish this call up? Danny Williams, thanks guys, keep up the great work. Yeah, Danny Williams, thanks for being on, the only doc not in witness protection on this. And it looks like you got a bunch of years under your belt, so thank you for, I could just imagine how many years you're in practice, being in a place of like always wanting to learn. Respect that. So great job. Drew and Chris, Josh Pickell, Josh. Hey, Josh, is it Jaeger or Jaeger? I always mess it up. Or neither.
Jaeger with the J.
Perfect.
Yep.
Josh, thank you guys so much for coming and sharing and being able to relate to docs where this is what it felt like when I was banging my head against the wall. This is what it feels like when things are going up and up. You guys all deserve the best. It's still the tip of the iceberg. And we're here for you 100%. I'm excited to see the continual rise. All right. Thanks, team. You guys are amazing.
Thanks.